Hello everyone, I am Kyle Viveris from Your Daily Nerd, and this is your weekly news. We've got a lot of big stories to go through this week, so why don't we just jump right into it. Of course, the first story that we need to talk about is Battlefront 2 missing their sales projections. According to the Wall Street Journal, Battlefront 2 sold only 9 million copies, which fell about a million units short of their 10 million expectation. Now, they are still expecting to sell between another 1 and 3 million units by the end of the fiscal quarter, but that still leaves them behind the first Battlefront game, which sold over 14 million units by the end of fiscal 2016. EA is stating that the reason why they didn't meet their sales expectation is because of the whole implementation of microtransactions and loot boxes at the beginning of the game's life cycle. EA went from there to say that they will be implementing microtransactions and loot boxes back into the game here in the next few months. This has caused a lot of outcry from players, to which I reply, you knew this was coming. They said it when they originally pulled it out in the first place, is that, hey, we're taking this out for the time being, but we are going to implement them back in at a later date. I still don't agree with the amount of microtransactions that are in the game, but I can't really be upset at the fact that they're adding it back in, because they definitely let everybody know that this was going to go on. I actually recently have started playing a little bit of Battlefront 2. No, I didn't spend the money to actually purchase it. My cousin purchased the game, and we have it set up with our Xboxes to game share. So I've started to play the game a little bit, and it's fine. Honestly, I probably would not spend more than $30 on it. It's okay. I wouldn't spend any money on it. The only reason why I'm playing it right now is to get a kind of feel for what this game is about, and just to kind of see if it is even worth playing in the first place. Next up, we have something coming out of the rumor mill. Again, before I say anything, this is all rumors and speculation based, but there are rumors suggesting that Microsoft is considering acquiring EA, Valve, and PUBG Corp. I, for one, think that this is a good move on Microsoft's part. They need to really start expanding their first-party offerings, because really all they have at this point are Halo, Gears of War, Sea of Thieves coming out, Crackdown. Their first-party support has kind of dwindled over the past few years. If they were even to acquire EA, not even necessarily their sports division, but if they were just to acquire their other games divisions, they'd be looking at things like BioWare and Respawn, so you'd get games back exclusively on Xbox. That would be the future Mass Effect game. Anthem would be a exclusive game. Any future Titanfall games, Dragon Age games, these would all be game changers for Xbox to own in the future. Valve, I have a hard time seeing them purchasing as much and it being a benefit to them, because Valve doesn't make very many games these days. Really, their primary focus is just on Dota and Counter-Strike. That they really haven't spent a lot of time making any new games lately. There hasn't been a new Left 4 Dead game, there hasn't been a new Team Fortress, a new Portal game, there hasn't a new Half-Life game, there hasn't been a new one of any of those in a long time, and it doesn't make as much sense, I think, in the long run to convince people to purchase Xbox over PlayStation to acquire these. And PUBG Corp, I don't really necessarily see a reason to purchase them. They've got this timed exclusive deal with them right now to have PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on Xbox. I think that if they were to purchase PUBG Corp, it would need to be they would need to do something with it like they did with Minecraft, where they purchased Mojang, and they can just license the game out to other consoles. Obviously, Minecraft is on everything. Microsoft could do the same thing with PUBG and get PUBG on everything. That doesn't do anything to convince people to switch over to Xbox from PlayStation. That's just my 2 cents. Let me know in the comments below on what you think. Who would you love to see Microsoft acquire if you could pick them to acquire anybody? who do you want to see Master Chief fight in a fighting game? I don't know. Let me know in those comments. Speaking of Anthem, we have news now that Anthem has been delayed to 2019, and in its place, EA will be putting out a new Battlefield game this year. This doesn't really come as much of a surprise to me, considering that we haven't really heard anything about Anthem since they announced it at E3. It being delayed to 2019 is not that huge of a surprise, and after the disaster that was Mass Effect Andromeda, BioWare really needs to knock it out of the park with this next game that they put out, so that way they don't meet the same fate as other studios that have been shut down in the wake of terrible game releases. Next up, we have the sad news of Epic Games shutting down Paragon. Paragon, of course, is Epic Games' third-person MOBA-like game that comes that was on PC and PS4. It seems like a lot of the support for Paragon went away after Fortnite Battle Royale came out, which is their other free-to-play game at this point. In a statement from Epic, they said, "We truly appreciate everything you've put into Paragon. We received many passionate ideas for where to take the game. The outpouring of thoughtful suggestions is another testament to this incredible community. After careful consideration and many difficult internal debates, we feel there isn't a clear path for us to grow Paragon into a MOBA that retains enough players to be sustainable. We didn't execute well enough to deliver on the promise of Paragon. We have failed you, despite the team's incredibly hard work, and we're sorry." And in other MOBA shutting down related news, Gigantic has announced that they will be shutting down in July. Gigantic is the MOBA that was exclusively on Xbox and PC that was being ran by Motiga. Motiga shut down a few months ago, and they were trying their best to kind of sustain the game, keep the servers up as long as possible, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to be an option at this point. According to the announcement, over the past few months, the team at Motiga and Perfect World have examined various options to keep the servers online, but were unable to find a solution to help the game, quote, break through in a crowded market. As a result, the decision was made to discontinue the game. There's another quote here that says, quote, "The current state of the game has restricted options for further progress and relevant content updates, and delivering basic features while also long-standing issues was more complicated than expected." The post continues to say that Gigantic was a labor of love for the teams at Motiga and Perfect World, and they thank their fans for the support over the life of the game. And a little bit of happier news, Nintendo has finally announced that Nintendo Switch Online functionality will be coming in September of 2018. This function was supposed to be coming out here at the end of 2017, but it doesn't seem like they were able to get it out in time. This will be more akin to Xbox's Xbox Live feature or PlayStation's PlayStation Plus, although it will be a lot cheaper to use. With something like PlayStation Plus or Xbox One, your prices are somewhere about $60 for a full year, whereas for Nintendo Switch's online functionality, it'll be closer to $20 per year. I'm looking forward to this. I love my Nintendo Switch, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what advantages there will be to having this online service functionality going forward. Next up, we finally get a release date for Red Dead Redemption 2. This game will be coming out in October 26th of 2018. I'm really excited to see what this game is. I really loved the first Red Dead Redemption game, but honestly, I won't be surprised if this game doesn't get delayed again until 2019. I just don't think, knowing Rockstar and how they are with their games, they're very meticulous, which I'm happy about because I like when games come out and they're super polished and I don't feel like I'm regretting spending my money. So it'll be great to see if this game does come out in October like it's supposed to, but for some reason I just have this gut feeling that it probably will get pushed back to 2019. And finally, in some esports related news, back to that Overwatch League. The London Spitfire player known as Prophet has been fined $1,000 for making an obscene gesture. Apparently he flipped off the camera in response to a joke that was made off camera by one of his teammates from backstage at the exact moment when his face was being broadcast on stream without him knowing. He ended up posting this statement onto his Twitter where he said, quote, "I made the gesture in response to the players and coaches in a joking fashion. I will take the time to deeply reflect upon what I say and do to make sure that nothing like this takes place again. I'm sorry for the fans that I have let down through my actions. I want you to let me know what you think about all this. Last week we had all that controversy with Dallas Fuel player XQC, and now we have Profit from London Spitfire. Is this just an indicative of the entire league itself, or just a couple of missteps? I really want to know what y'all have to think. I think it might just be a couple of missteps, and hopefully going forward we won't have to deal with as much of these controversies. Also want to know, do you think these fines are a little excessive? $1,000 does seem like a lot of money, but then again, children could have been watching this stream, so I have no idea if this punishment fits this crime. So I really want to start a dialogue here. What do you think about what's going on with the Overwatch League? Maybe it'd be beneficial if they actually published the player guidelines and code of conduct on their website so we can get a little bit more transparency as to what exactly these players are expected to do and what not to do. That's just my opinion, though, and it's worth exactly how much you paid for it. Absolutely nothing. Well, that's it for this week for your weekly news. A little bit of housekeeping before we go. If you haven't looked on social media, I announced earlier this week that for my birthday for this year, which is coming up on this coming Wednesday, I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a give back. There's nothing special about turning 23. There really isn't. But I want to kind of change that and just do something nice and different for a change. So I've started a fundraising campaign to help with Able Gamers charity. If you don't know who Able Gamers are, they're a wonderful charity that helps with creating custom setups for people with disabilities to help them get back into the game. 1 in 5 Americans has a disability, and I think it would just be wonderful to help them in any kind of way. If you have any way of donating at all, any little bit helps. Please click on the link that I have put here in the description below this video. It would mean the world to me to be able to help with this cause. It's an amazing group, and I really couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday. I would like to start with it with my birthday, and then kind of continue with support and different fundraisers for it throughout the year this year, and hopefully into the far future from there. Next, if you haven't followed us on social media, please do. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at YDNerd. That's the easiest way for you to keep up for when we put up new videos and have just stupid things to talk about, video games related. You'll be able to find all of the things that you need to know from there. Speaking of content, be sure to keep up with the channel. We have our next episode of Required Gaming coming up here in the next couple weeks or so. Jackie and I have been playing A Night in the Woods, and we're going to be talking all about that. And you're not going to want to go into that without any kind of exposure to the game, because that's a good game. It's very story focused, and you're not going to want us to spoil it for you. So please do yourself a favor. Go play Night in the Woods. It's like only $20. Go play it so that way when we put out Required Gaming, you're going to have a lot of fun with that conversation. I can guarantee it. Well, that's going to do it for me here at Your Daily Nerd with your weekly news. I'm Kyle Viveris. What makes you nerd out? Go Pats.